9 smart hacks for creating and running A/B tests. Whether you are just starting out with A/B testing or you've been doing it for a while, what I'm going to share with you in this video is 9 hacks that we've learned over the years to making sure that we're able to create meaningful and successful A/B tests. Hello everyone, this is Khalid with Invesp. This channel is all about helping you improve your site conversion rates so you can make more money online. Now we do that by sharing the best tools, tips, and strategies on how to do that. If you are new to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe and of course like and comment. Let's jump right in. Now before we talk about those hacks, I want you to remember that the goal is not to create a one-off A/B test. Your goal is to be able to launch A/B experiments regularly. Now, what does that mean? At a minimum, we should be aiming at launching a couple of experiments a month to maybe 4 or 6 experiments per month if your site traffic and conversions can support that many experiments. Now, having said that, let's jump in and see those 9 hacks. Number 1, decide on the right page to test. Not all pages are created equal. Different pages will have different impact on your overall site conversion rates. Think about your homepage. Most people like to start testing with the homepage, although many people who actually convert, those who impact your overall site conversion rate, may or may not go through the homepage. So maybe testing the homepage doesn't make sense. The closer a page is to your final conversion, the more impact it will have on your bottom line. If you are an e-commerce website, your product pages, your cart page, and your checkout will have a much larger impact on your site conversion rate compared to pages in the top of the funnel, such as the homepage or your category pages. So which page should you choose? It depends. If you are just starting out with A/B testing, then I might choose a page that does not get a lot of traffic. Why is that? Because my goal is to dip my toes into the ocean of A/B testing. But if you've been doing A/B testing for a while, then look at the pages that are at the bottom of the funnel. Those will have a bigger impact on your bottom line. Number 2, decide on how many variations you can include in your A/B tests. Sometimes I see people go overboard and they will create 7, 8. I've seen some experiments with 20 different variations or challengers to the control. That does not necessarily make sense, even if you have the traffic and conversion to support that many variations. When you create that many variations, you will struggle analyzing the test results, which is a very important step in A/B experiments. So how do I know how many variations I can include in my experiment? Let's take a look at the number of site conversions, the number of conversions that your site generates in a month. And let's say you have 1,000 conversions. Divide that number by 200. That means if I have 1,000 conversions, I can have up to 5 different variations. One of them is the control, so that leaves me with 4 variations. Usually, whenever we are running experiments, we like to max out at 5 variations. Again, even if the site has the conversions, we work with some companies that have 100,000 conversions per month, yet we don't go more than 5 variations in a single experiment, because again, we are thinking about the post-test analysis. What is the A/B test teaching us about our customers? Number 3, decide the A/B test sample size before you launch the A/B experiment. There are a ton of A/B test duration calculators out there. We will link to a couple of them in the description, but you can use any of those calculators. Typically, when you use a sample size duration calculator, you'll have to plug in a few numbers, mainly the original or the control conversion rates. You'll also have to plug in how many visitors are coming to the page or will be included in the test and how many variations you are including in your A/B experiment. Press the button and the A/B test duration calculator will tell you how long you should run the A/B test for. Now, your goal is to run the A/B experiment for a minimum of a week to a maximum of 30 to 35 days. What if I have enough conversions that I can actually run the experiment for a day or 2? We work with companies such as eBay, where you can actually run an experiment for a couple of hours and achieve statistical significance, but that is not our goal. You need to make sure that you ran the experiment at least for 1 day of the week. On the other hand, if the A/B test duration calculator tells you that you have to run the experiment for 2 or 3 months, then you need to go back to the drawing board. Did you select the right page? Did you include too many variations in the experiment? And maybe sometimes, dare I say this, maybe you need to go for a higher significance level or lower confidence. So maybe instead of aiming for a 95% confidence, I am sometimes willing to relax that rule and aim for a 90% confidence or even an 85% confidence. There's a lot of logic, a lot of discussion around that. But if you are interested in learning why I would do that and when I would do it, leave a comment and I'll be glad to record a different video about this topic. Number 4, do not test a single element at a time, because that is a recipe for disaster. I see this advice mentioned all the time. You should test one element at a time so you can isolate the impact of that element. Yes, that is true, but it is not practical. It's a sure way of slowing down your program. You can change and you should test multiple elements. However, all of the changes that you are making on the page should be driven by a single hypothesis. A single hypothesis can drive multiple changes on the page. And remember, you are testing multiple variations within an A/B test, so you can change multiple things. That is a much faster and a much easier approach and efficient approach to A/B testing. Number 5, design your experiments carefully. Now, this is easier said than done, and this is perhaps the most difficult part of A/B testing. Let me give you an example. You have a product page on an e-commerce website. You have 2 different ways of showing the product options. You can either use a drop-down or radio buttons. Yes, your goal is to measure the visitor's interaction with product options, but changing between radio buttons versus a drop-down doesn't really tell you a lot about how visitors view the page. So to me, those 2 options are very close to each other and they don't teach me anything new about my visitors. If you are interested in learning about experiment designs and thinking about how we introduce new variations in A/B experiment, leave a comment and I'll record a video about this as well. Number 6, select the right number of goals to measure in your A/B test. I look at A/B experiments where sometimes there is only a single goal that is being tracked, and that is the order confirmation. And on the other hand, I see some A/B experiments where there are 25 goals getting tracked. Both approaches are really not good. Every experiment that you have should measure probably 3 to 5 different goals that will help you understand how visitors are interacting with the control and the variations. At the same time, if you are tracking 20 or 25 different goals, guess what? You will have analysis paralysis and you will have so much data that you will not be able to make any sense out of it. Let's take an experiment running on a product page for an e-commerce website. But in addition to that primary goal, I will probably track clicks on the add to cart, starting the checkout, maybe views for the cart page, maybe views for the mini carts. Number 7, send your A/B testing data to your analytics platform. If you use Google Analytics, make sure that the A/B testing platform is sending the data to Google Analytics. If you use any other platform, Heap, Amplitude, or whatever platform that you might use, make sure that your A/B testing software integrates with that platform and that you're able to send the A/B testing data to that platform. Why do you do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, you'll be able to validate that the results that you are seeing in the A/B testing software are similar to what you see in analytics. Now remember, the reporting that you see in analytics is going to be different than the reporting that you see in your A/B testing software. However, the trend needs to be consistent. Number 2, you can probably create more advanced segments for visitors who saw a particular variation in A/B experiment in your analytics and see how that particular segment of visitors that saw variation 1 or variation 2 or saw the control, how are they interacting with the rest of the website, which means more analysis, which means that you'll get better and more effective A/B testing. Number 8, determine early stop rules. Some people are going to freak out when they hear this. Remember, we've calculated sample size before we started the experiment. We said, you know what? This experiment is going to run until we hit 55,000 visitors. Now, on daily basis, you are going to monitor the different variations that you have in your A/B experiments and how they are performing. Usually, we like to put what we call early stop rules at 10% of the traffic, 25% of the traffic, 50% of the traffic, 75% of the traffic. And as we hit those predetermined milestones, we're evaluating the different variations. If we notice at 25% of the traffic that one variation is performing absolutely horrendously and it has maybe a 5% chance of winning against the control, then we might call off that variation. And in that case, case, we remove the experiment and relaunch a new experiment with the adjusted number of variations. The goal of doing this is to limit the negative impact of running an A/B experiment on our overall conversion rates. Number 9, analyze the losers. Remember, every A/B experiment is driven by a hypothesis and it has multiple variations which are an implementation of that hypothesis. If we have a winner, that tells us that the hypothesis was correct and we did a good job. But let's take an experiment that has 3 variations. They are all driven by a single hypothesis. One of them is a winner. Great, we've done well. But the other 2 variations, which are an implementation of that hypothesis, what are these variations telling us about our visitors? You might not have the right answers. Most likely you'll not have the right answers. What you will have is more questions to ask about your visitors, and you'll be able to explore those new questions that came as a result from having variations that lost in an A/B experiment and new A/B experiments that you launch on your website. With that, happy testing.